What's up, buddies? What Jim? And I'm joined once again by Jason the Millennial. But I'm also joined by a first-time guest on my channel, and that is Ryan, aka RWR Movie Reviews. How are you both doing?
Doing awesome, man. Thanks for the invite. Appreciate being a first timer on the channel.
Yeah.
I'm sure this live stream will be a lot of fun. And we're talking about our top 5 film franchises. I've just come back from a holiday, going to Blackpool today.
Yeah.
Yep.
How was that trip? Pretty good?
Yeah, pretty good. Listen to a lot of music.
Yeah. It's like a lot of stuff.
And this live stream was getting me through it.
There you go.
Thinking about all sort of franchises. Yeah. But I've been wanting to do this live stream for a few weeks, so it's great that we could finally do it this time.
Yeah.
Yep. So as it's your first time appearing on my channel, Ryan, if you could introduce what you do on your channel and a bit about yourself, really.
Yeah, man. So I'm Ryan, RWR Movie Reviews. If you guys don't know me, I do movie reviews. I do physical media hauls. I'm a very big supporter of physical media over streaming. Although, I do have a little bit of streaming that I watch, but I don't watch as much stuff on streaming as I'm more of a physical media guru. I'm at the theater every week, so I'm dropping, usually the latest, movie, whatever comes out. I really cover pretty much all over the map of genres. I don't really stick to one genre, which is, something I really like about my channel, unique wise. I cover some of the bigger movies, some of the smaller movies, some of the movies you probably haven't heard of on Shudder, and get to hear my rants about how bad they are. So, just that's pretty much the basis of my channel. It's a pretty chill thing, and I welcome anybody to come over and check out my stuff. And yeah, man, that's my channel.
I've only recently been a subscriber to you, and yeah, I really like your movie reviews. I think they're really great. Yeah,
I appreciate that. Yeah, I'm always trying to work on them. And just kind of spice it up a little bit. My latest ones, I did some outside just to.
Yeah, I saw that.
Just to change it up a little bit. I always kind of sit in just like a little room in a studio, and I figured, what, let's like take it outside and just like, show you like my, like, I guess me in the everyday, like outside world, I guess. I do get out of the house at some point. So, I figured that. I wanted to try something new, and it seems like people are enjoying the new atmosphere. So we'll keep doing it as long as people seem to like it. So, yeah.
And of course, we got Jason here. He's appeared on my live streams numerous times.
Yep.
Of course, he loves music and movies. He's currently going through his favorite Beatles songs and ranking top 100 favorite albums. You're on your top 20 now.
Yeah, top 20 my albums and top 10 of my Beatles songs. So.
And then when you get done all the top albums, you'll go, oh, the list has changed again.
Oh, it's changed so much since.
It's always changing to me as well.
You have to redo it again.
Got to redo it, yeah. That's very
Might
true.
have to be a weekly video you do. Jason's weekly top 100.
It changes every week.
But yeah, a lot of times though, like you'll do bands and I may not recognize the name, but then I'll look them up and go, oh, I know these songs.
Right, yeah.
Because like me, I'm very good at knowing like maybe more the modern artists, but like some of the older artists, I don't really know the names of the bands, but like I may know the song. And then, like I think recently you did Steely Dan. I knew a few of their songs, and I was like, oh, okay, I know these songs. I just didn't know that's who sang them. So I always think that's pretty cool, just bringing in different things. So I enjoy like that. And then, you always have all this Beatles knowledge. I knew nothing about the Beatles, but I watch Jason's videos and I know everything about them. So
I know. I love Ryan's comments because it's always, oh, more Beatle knowledge.
Because like I don't normally listen to them, but like I'll listen to what you got to say and like just tell me all the history. I'm always just amazed on some of the knowledge you have with them. So it's just interesting, just like the different songs you talk about and stuff. So yeah, if anybody likes the Beatles, like this is your guy right here, Beatles legend.
Yeah, my hope is always to hopefully educate people and inspire people to listen. That's what I always hope for that. But
I'm always learning something as well, watching your videos. Yeah,
Oh, good. Yeah, Adam
especially
actually goes.
that live stream quiz.
Yeah, had a Beatles
Yeah,
section there. I learned a little bit.
yeah. But before we talk about the main part of the live stream, I think we should talk about what movies we've been watching lately. So you can go first, Ryan. What films
Oh,
have you
let's
been watching
see.
lately?
He has a long list, probably.
My letterbox. So uh, for the first time, I watched the first two Expendables last night.
Oh, okay.
The first one, it was okay. It was directed by Sylvester Stallone, actually,
Yeah.
and it felt a little lower budget to me, that movie. Um, and the plot was, it was kind of ant to me. I don't know. I thought it was an okay movie. I thought there were some pretty good action scenes, but my thing with that movie is there's so many characters in that movie that I feel like not a lot of people get a lot of time to shine in that movie,
Mhm.
and
Yeah.
it's mainly Jason Statham and Sylvester Stallone gets like most of like the whole
Yeah.
screen time throughout that entire movie.
That's
And
true.
like, you had like Jet Li in there, and like he does like nothing, I feel like, in that movie.
Yeah, he did a little weird in that.
Yeah, and then like Bruce Willis has one scene, Arnold has one scene.
Yeah.
It
Dolph
felt
Lundgren.
like it felt like kind of a wasteful, wasteful of cast. And then I watched the second one, and I thought the second one was better.
Yeah.
I thought the action was much better. I thought it was shot better. Definitely had more budget in that one, and I thought the story was a lot more balanced, and I liked it more. I still felt like some of the characters didn't get as much fleshing out, but they were better on it than the first movie.
Yeah.
And I did learn too. Also, all the movies have a different director, so even the
Oh,
newest
good.
one has a different director.
All
So I can understand why the styles are different each time.
Yeah.
So I still need to watch the third one yet, so we'll see what I think about that. But
I've not seen any of them.
You haven't seen any of them? Yeah.
I think the second one's by far the best one, in my opinion.
I've been hearing that.
I think the action's really good, and I love Arnold Schwarzenegger gets into it, and Chuck Norris gets into it, and I love that.
Yeah, they do little puns in that one, and he has like a Terminator joke.
Yeah, the Terminator.
Yeah, the Terminator joke. Yeah, I like that one better, I would say. The third one I've heard not as good, but I don't know. I don't think it could be, as average as the first one, but I could be wrong.
Boring to me. I don't know.
Yeah, it wasn't that great. I was kind of like, really? Like, this is the movie? And we'll see with the fourth one. The fourth one, it seems a little cheap looking the way they shot it, but we'll see. I'll check it out and see. As far as any other movies, let's see. I watched a bunch of Shudder movies. I know you guys don't really watch horror, so.
No.
What else did I watch? I watched DC League of Super Pets again with my son. I don't really care for that movie that much.
I love that movie.
I didn't mind it.
Yeah. That one, I don't know. It was kind of meh for me. I don't know. And then I rewatched Sleepy Hollow. I don't know if that's something that you would watch, Jason, because it's kind of horror-ish, but it's I'm not sure if that's something you'd watch. I don't know if like you're in the Tim Burton or anything, but I got you. But I watched that. I love that movie. I got that on 4K, so I watched that. And other than that, I mean, I've watched a few things at the theater, a few other reviews that I've done, but haven't watched a ton of stuff this week. I do still have some other stuff that I'm going to post on Letterboxd later, do some other reviews that I've watched within the past few weeks. So I've had a lot of stuff like kind of spread out, like watching, like I try to watch a movie a day if I can, but it just depends. It's hard.
I tried that and I kind of had to give up. It was too hard to do.
Well, for me, it's hard because I have baseball season right now. And so I'm watching baseball and fitting that into my schedule of baseball. And then football season's coming up, but that's one day a week. That's 1 day a week at least, though. So that's not that bad. But baseball is every night. It's a game. So, it's a lot. So I definitely, if baseball season comes over, I'll be able to watch even more stuff and have a little bit more free time, especially to do more videos and stuff. So, but yeah, that's what I've been watching. I know that was a lot. So it's a very wordy answer.
Yeah.
What about you, Jason?
Well, I grabbed these 2 kung fu movies at Barnes and Nobles, Knockabout and Warriors 2,
Oh yeah.
and I watched both of them just recently. In fact, I just watched this the other day with an audio commentary by like experts, on martial arts movies, anyways, and love both of these movies. Really good kung fu movies from both directed by Sammo Hung, who's this guy here, who he's I believe he directed both movies. He wrote this movie and also co-stars in both movies, anyways. And he's so good at comedy action. His movies, the kung fu is great, but it's also very funny. He throws in a lot of slapstick humor in them, which Jackie Chan does as well. So I love that style of kung fu with the over the top comedy thrown in to it. I'm going to do a top 10 favorite martial arts movies at some point pretty soon. And these are 2 that definitely are in my top 10 favorite of the genre. It depends I don't know if any of you are into the genre at all, but
I've not really seen
I
many
didn't really
martial
grow
arts
up with it.
films.
yeah,
No.
of the Kung Fu genre. So anyway, so that's definitely, I was really happy to get these 2 and watch them. And one's like made in 77, 178, like late 70s Kung Fu. So good, in my opinion.
Are
Then
those? I gotta say, are those in English or are they subtitled?
subtitled, yeah.
Okay, I didn't know if they were.
Yeah. And then I just watched Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles Mayhem, I think it's called.
What do you think of it?
I liked it, and I didn't think I was going to like it because I thought they changed so much. I feel like style-wise, and even the story different than what I've seen out of the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. And I'm such a huge fan of since I was a kid. I used to have like the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtle wristwatch, the backpack. I dressed up as Michelangelo for Halloween. All these things as a kid, and I was a big fan of the cartoon series, and then also the movies, the live action movies in the '90s. I saw in the theaters, and anyway, I still love that part of it. And so coming to this, it's definitely different. It's almost like an origin story, somewhat to the series, which I kind of like that they're really building up because it sounds like Shredder's going to come into the second movie. He's not in the first movie, but they hint at him for the second one. So I'm like, okay, cool. Yeah. So they're not hitting you with the main bad guy right away, but they're going to build up to Shredder, which is not a bad idea. And some of the choices are a little weird in it, I would say. But overall, I think they really capture the turtles, which is so good. Like, you just need to capture their personalities, and that's what makes the turtles so great. Is that they're just these goofball, teenagers that just want to party and have fun, and it's very funny. I laughed throughout the whole movie. Like, that's what really got me into it. Like, all the little quips that had nothing to do with anything, which is like teenager talk. You start, oh, I love Beyonce. Oh, this, and they go on some conversation that has nothing to do with anything, but it made me laugh when they do that kind of stuff. They go off on tangents. And the action was done pretty well as well. I actually really enjoyed it.
Nice.
Did you watch it in theaters?
No, I watched it on my
iPhone. Oh, well.
laying in bed. That's where I watch movies. I lay in bed and I watch movies on my iPhone.
Nice. I do that sometimes.
Right before I go to sleep, I'm like, I'm gonna try to watch a movie. And
yeah.
Well, I've not seen many movies lately as I've been on holiday, but the last film I saw in theaters was Gran Turismo.
Oh yeah,
which I was completely surprised with. I thought it was really great. My mum thought it was a 10 out of 10. It was one of my favorite films she's ever seen.
Oh wow!
Yeah, and the film I saw before I went on holiday is a film called The Comeback Trail. It stars Robert De Niro and Tommy Lee Jones and Morgan Freeman.
Really?
It came out in 2020.
Yeah, so that movie,
comedy.
I know that movie that you're talking about.
know that one.
It was supposed to come out in the U.S. 3 years ago, and they changed their release dates in the U.S. like 2 or 3 times, and it's just been shelved. So I don't know if it's gonna come out in theaters or if it's gonna come out on streaming. I haven't heard. So it may just be a UK release right now.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, I saw it on TV, and I really liked it. I thought it was quite funny. And it was a good length as well. It was a good length movie. But, yeah, I definitely recommend it if you if you guys get a chance to see that one.
Yeah, I definitely want to check it out. I've seen the trailer several times over the last 3 years, and I was just waiting. When the heck is it going to come out? Because they keep delaying it. Like, they had like 3 different theater release dates, and they took it off the calendar so many times. And I've been following when it was going to come out, and it's never came out. So eventually, I'll get to it.
Okay.
I had no idea about that.
Yeah. So I don't know if they must have had problems releasing it, or some maybe funding or something. I'm guessing. So
the big cast.
Yeah.
Yeah. So we'll talk about our top 5 film franchises. I'll let you go first with your number 5, Ryan, and then Jason, and then myself. But I've got one question before we begin it. Well, it's not really a question. It's more saying that I wouldn't count Disney as a franchise. I wouldn't count Disney as just one franchise.
Okay.
Well, I've not counted that anyway. But if you guys count Disney as its own franchise, I'm fine with that.
Yeah, I wasn't sure exactly what the rules for a franchise is. I made up my own rules. So I don't know.
I made up my own rules as well.
My own rule is just that it has to be 4 movies, and it has to be at least 4 movies. Because 3 movies is a trilogy to me. So my thinking is, if there's a 4th movie, then it's a franchise. That's what I went with.
Yeah.
Well, I'll be breaking some of my rules then. My number 5. I'll say this before we start. I know that you guys don't watch horror movies, so I left out all my horror franchises for this live stream because I know for the sake if I name them, we wouldn't have anything to talk about. So I didn't have any horror franchises on here, but there's other franchises that I like. So I'm considering my horror franchises out of this top 5 in like a whole separate realm. So yeah, exactly.
Not on my live stream.
For your live stream, I just know that you guys don't watch horror, so I was like, if I list all horror franchises, we're gonna have nothing to talk about. So I left all them off. So the number 5 franchise that I put on here is a franchise that I watch yearly and have always liked, and that is the Shrek franchise. I don't think there is a bad movie in the franchise. I would say, and this may be, I don't know if this is a hot take or not, but the second one has always been the weakest for me, and I know a lot of people actually like the second one. But that first one, when it came out, I just remember all the pop culture references. I remember how, growing up with like Disney, how they had, like the prince and princess, like the prince, rescues the princess, that kind of stuff that we always know about. And with Shrek, it was completely different because you have an ogre going to rescue a princess. And I just like how a message for kids, it shows that somebody can be different and, you can still accept them for who you are. Like, they don't have to be a prince and princess to fall in love type deal. And I just think there's a lot of good comedy with it. Donkey's really good, with Eddie Murphy. He's very good. I like a lot of the side characters. They shine, more and more throughout the franchise. Like, I love the gingerbread man.
I love the gingerbread man.
He is the best. I love,
especially when he becomes ginormous.
Yeah. And the thing is, I've seen the first movie so many times that literally you could put it on and I know word for word what is going to be said. It's that bad, guys. So there's not too many movies that I can sit there, watch, and know every single line. But that movie, I can sit there and recite it. And, there's just like a little funny joke in my house that I can do the gingerbread voice. I'm not going to do it on this live stream, but I can do it. It just, I love the whole franchise, and I love that I think it changed the way that, just like kid movies kind of like generated, like, I feel like that was one of the ones that kind of demonstrated like what do you call it? The 3D animation, or whatever you want to call it.
Yeah.
Because like we were used to traditional like cartoons and drawings, which, don't get me wrong, I respect that. That takes a lot of time to do. And I understand why we're in the situation where that changed over, because you could be doing a hand-drawn animation movie for 20, 30 years. And like nowadays, like people want stuff fast, you know, and
Yeah.
I get why they went to that style. So
Yeah.
that's what I appreciate about Shrek.
Yeah, I love how it pokes fun of Disney in it.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
That's a lot of the joy when I first saw it in the theater. I was trying to think. So it came out in 2000, I believe.
Around this time, yeah.
Because I remember one of the trivia questions was, what was the first movie to win the Oscar for Best Animated Movie? And Shrek was the answer. It was first to win that award that they made up for it. Anyway, so I was like 17 when it came out. And I'm guessing you're a little bit younger than me, Ryan.
Yeah, it came out when I was 11, I think. 11
Yeah.
or 12.
So you're a really good age range for that, for sure. Adam, I don't know if he was born yet. He might not have been.
I wasn't born for the
He wasn't
first
born.
two films came out.
Yeah, Adam wasn't born yet. So I still loved it as a 17-year-old. I went and saw it in the theater. And yeah, it was a game changer for DreamWorks. I mean, it made DreamWorks, it made them able to compete with Disney, I think, at that time. And Pixar were like the three big ones. But yeah.
Yeah. And Shrek 2 has always been my favorite one.
That's my favorite Shrek 2.
Yeah. See, a lot of people like it.
What do you think about Puss in Boots? Is that part of the franchise?
It is. So recently, I had watched Puss in Boots one time, and I recently watched the first one. You might as well say it was my first time because I don't remember it.
Yeah.
But I thought that one was weaker than the newest one. The newest one was very good.
Yeah.
I thought the story was a lot better.
Yeah.
Agreed.
There's more characters to really care about. There's a lot of different villains he had to face in that second one.
Yeah.
The animation is a lot more sharper, I think.
Yeah.
And they do kind of like a mix of animation as well. And it looks really good on 4K too. So I really appreciate the second one more than the first one. Like, don't get me wrong, I would watch the first one. It's not a terrible movie by any means, but it is a little bit weaker, I would say.
I agree.
So I would definitely throw that in the back if we attach it all to the Shrek franchise for sure.
Yeah.
And they're supposed to be making a fifth one too. So Yes, I don't know what the story's going to be, what they're going to do. And it's been a while, so like, what can they do? And Cameron Diaz doesn't act anymore, so I'm assuming she won't be there. Well, she retired, but then I saw that she's doing a Netflix movie coming up. So, but she hasn't done movies in like 10 years or something like that. So I'm assuming maybe they got her back. I don't know. So I don't know what the plot's going to be. It's going to be interesting.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Good. All right. My number 5.
Yeah, number 5.
I just realized I have a lot of action franchises in mind for sure.
That's kind of what I thought you would have.
Number 5 is the one I've loved since I was a kid, and that is James Bond. The James Bond franchise, which is an interesting franchise because it's 25 movies long right now, but they're not really connected to each other as far as franchises go. Obviously, there's been I think it's been 6 different James Bonds now, and Daniel Craig just basically he's done his last one. So whenever they want to do another one, they're going to have to come up with a 7th James Bond. I think Sean Connery, he did 6 movies, and Roger Moore did 7 movies. They're my 2 favorite. Roger Moore's probably my favorite of his movies. They're very campy, and I love that about them. They're just super campy, fun. You know, I love the puns, the jokes in between killing people is great. Obviously, and it's just I love the whole the way they structured it is just so unique to opening scene, action scene. You get the James Bond theme song. I love the theme songs. You get that cool intro video, and then you get into your story. You got the bad guy. You got a henchman with a crazy power. I love the Jaws and the Odd Job. The guys that are just. I love the creativity there. The crazy trying to take over the world plans are great, and you got the I'm Bond, James Bond, Shaken Not Stirred. I mean, you just look for those in every movie, and you're like, oh, there's a line. And I just love all of that. And I remember when I was a kid, and I don't know if Ryan remembers this. I don't know if they did this in the UK, but it was like USA. I want to say the channel. There's a channel called USA, I believe it was, and they would have a James Bond marathon every once in a while. I forget, maybe it was over the holiday or something. And when I was a kid, and like if it was like a Saturday, and there was a James Bond marathon in USA, like I was watching James Bond all day that Saturday. You
Wow.
have to go to school or anything. I'm watching James Bond today, and I loved watching because they would show them like in chronological order, like a marathon, and I would just be watching them and just loved the. It was one of the first probably action franchises I got into as a kid, and I got into the Sean Connery, Roger Moore's were the ones I watched as a kid, and then Pierce Brosnan was the current James Bond that was starting to make movies when I was a teenager, and then I think he started making the movie. So I started watching Pierce Brosnan as he was making his. But I still have nostalgia for all the old ones, anyways, and yeah, I had to put it on here.
Nice.
I've only seen all the Daniel Craig ones. I've seen the first few Sean Connery ones, but
Okay.
I've got a whole box set of James Bond films.
You
I've
do?
got to watch all of them at some point.
Nice.
Yeah, I've still not watched all of them yet, and I've had the box set for about 5 years.
Oh wow.
I wonder what's like, because I feel like I like it so much because I watched it as a kid, so there's a nostalgia factor. So
Yeah.
I don't know if you don't have the nostalgia factor, if you'd care about this franchise as much, because if you watch the older ones, there are definitely some slow parts to them, I think, and I can see someone going, this is too slow. The action's not the best. I mean, obviously, action's gotten better over time, but to me, like Dr. No, the first one, 1962. I mean, this is the first really good action movie. I mean, I say good, but first like action movie really that really, to me, it's like we wouldn't have the action movies today if it wasn't for Dr. No back in 1962. I mean, there wasn't a action franchise like that at that time. So to me, it really set the stage for action.
Yeah, I was gonna say, to add to your point, I don't have the nostalgia for it. Honestly, the whole relation with James Bond, I've only seen one of them, dude. It's pretty bad. I've only seen Die Another Day in full entirety, which wasn't a bad movie. And the other nostalgia part, well, I wouldn't say nostalgia, but what I remember with James Bond is when I was in fourth grade and I lived in Maryland at the time. My friend had an N64, and they had that World Is Not Enough game. I think that's what the movie was. Was it that one?
Well, they had GoldenEye was the big
GoldenEye, that's what it was. They had
that
GoldenEye, and every day
huge.
after school, me and him would go on there, and we would always do like multiplayer and like hunt for each other and stuff. And that was fun. So like I always remember that. That was like every day after school. So I know bits and pieces from GoldenEye from that game.
From the video game.
And I know Die Another Day, and that's it. I haven't watched any other ones.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So that's my small take on it.
I spent hours playing GoldenEye, that video game. Yeah. One of the best.
Yeah, it was really fun. I always enjoyed it. And, like that's what we had back then. The graphics weren't amazing yet.
But that was groundbreaking for the time. I mean,
That's
we
true.
didn't have multiplayer shoot up games. That was the first one I've ever seen where you can, and because the Nintendo 64 had the ability to have 4 controllers.
Yeah.
So you invite your friend over and they bring their controller and you get 4 guys together. I mean, it was just never done before. You're playing, shooting each other, and quipping about what's going on. It was one of the funnest things to do on video games, and then now it's really made this genre of like shoot 'em up games. I mean, are huge, and I think it didn't start with GoldenEye, but GoldenEye definitely, I think,
helped it
better. Yeah.
Yeah, we always played that, and we always played Diddy Kong Racing every day after school, man. Every day. So it's a memory that will always stick with me. Like I'll never forget it. And anybody always mentions James Bond. I'm like, oh yeah,
Gold.
Yeah. So that's my take.
We've got your sister here, Jason. So I hope you don't see Fast and Furious on the list.
Nah,
on the list. No,
we weren't even thinking about that one.
I didn't think about it, but that is a big one.
Like 3 legends in the game.
What's up, Mike?
Dominion.
The Minion movies. Nah, that's not on here either.
It gets worse.
Puppet Master. Yeah.
Sure, definitely not. No.
He's got one for all of us.
That's funny. I don't know.
Well,
Mike said he really loved the Minions.
Well, my number 5 is Indiana Jones.
Nice.
Yeah. I'll just get my notes ready, and there's 5 films in total from 1981 all the way to 2023. And the first and third Indiana Jones movies are some of my favorite movies of all time. They're both 10 out of 10, and I think Temple of Doom is really great as well. I love that whole trilogy of Indiana Jones films, and Kingdom of the Crystal Skull and Dark Destiny. I like those movies, but they're definitely not as good as the first 3 films. Definitely not. And I think that's why it's only number 5, is because of those 3 films. Otherwise, it'd probably be number 4 and number 3 if we just talk about those first 3 films. But if we talk about the 4th and 5th film as well, that's why it's only number 5. But I love those first 3 films so much. I had to include it on here. So yeah, it gets my number 5. And I saw all those films loads when I was younger. But I don't think I've seen them all the way through that many times. I just watched loads of different moments when I was younger.
Yeah. Indiana Jones is funny because I watched it as a kid and it scared the heck out of me as a kid, but I love them. I don't know if you guys had the same.
Not really. I don't know. I always wanted to be like Indiana Jones.
I just remember the face melting freaked me out as a kid, and
yeah,
heads blowing up. It was like, oh my god.
Yeah.
It totally changed the game.
I think Temple of Doom creeped me out a bit.
I still there's scenes I can't watch in Temple of Doom. I have to fast forward.
Yeah, when he's ripping the heart out.
Yeah, the bug scene. I can't take the bug scene. It freaks me out too much.
Yeah, there are a couple of
I hate bugs. I hate spiders. I hate scorpions. Centipedes.
They're my biggest fear.
Yeah, it's one of my biggest things. Yeah, because the Temple of Doom basically brought in the PG-13 era of movies.
Yeah, it did.
So,
I remember.
So it's kind of interesting. Yeah, they're like, "Oh, this is too rough for PG."
Yeah, they really got into that PG rating.
All different rating just for that first film started the new age rating.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, it's funny. I just saw Dial of Destiny recently too, as well. And I gave that a pretty bad review on my Letterboxd. And it made me go, you know what? Kingdom of the Crystal Skull is not that bad. I'm starting to go back on. I used to be like, I hate Kingdom of the Crystal Skull, but now I saw Dial of Destiny, so I'm like, I kind of like Kingdom of the Crystal Skull now.
Oh wow!
It had a good ending. Like James, I was thinking Indiana Jones is married and he has a kid, and I'm thinking, oh, this is a good ending for the.
I really like the ending of that one.
Yeah, I'm like, I really like the 4th ending. Like, I didn't need a 5th movie. I don't know. So.
Yeah, for me, I didn't grow up on them at all. I honestly just watched them all.
You just watched them, yeah, that's right.
Before I went to go see Dial of Destiny, and my favorite film, but I will say the first and second film are both 5 out of 5s for me. I love them both. Temple of Doom, I prefer more. You know me, I'm horror. I love the dark stuff. So that's my number 1. But I also think between that and the first one, I really think that they're way 2 different movies for sure, like in just the way the style and tone. But I think they're both really good in their own, just like the different stories and just the way like both of them like just tackle like their stories and stuff like that. So those 2 I really did like. The third one I didn't like as much as the first 2, but I still gave it a positive review. I think I gave it 3.5 out of 5.
Okay.
Kingdom of Crystal Skull I did not like. Did not like the. Well, I'm not gonna tell any spoilers in case anybody's watching. They haven't seen it, but I didn't like towards the end what they were doing, and it's my least favorite out of all of them. Dial of Destiny. That one was just it's one of those movies where like it was fine, I guess. I liked it better than Crystal Skull.
Oh, okay.
But I wouldn't buy the fourth or the fifth one. Like,
Okay.
The fourth one, actually, I didn't like it that much that I actually sold it off. So I'll never watch that movie again. So
Yeah.
I didn't really like that one. And then the fifth one, I don't plan on buying. So, but the first three, I love the first three, I would say.
Yeah.
Definitely easy rewatches.
Yeah.
Definitely for
I
the
agree.
first two, like, for sure. So, but yeah, like I said, one time watch, I've watched them all. So I can't say I recall like every little thing, but I'm sure on rewatches I would, get more and more out of it. But I understand with the second one, like some people, they wouldn't like it as much because it is darker tone for sure. So I get that. But yeah, I think that Harrison Ford, like, he does such a great job in that
so
role. Like, he knows what he's doing. And, even in the fifth movie, regardless of the fact that, it's not up to the trilogy at all. Like, he's like in that role and plays it, amazingly. So, honestly, I don't want them to reboot it ever, but I'm sure like they're going to find a way to do it. I just think like sometimes you just got to leave stuff alone. And and I don't know if the reason why I did bad is because there's a lot of stuff going on with Disney right now and the CEO and stuff and Disney Plus. I don't know if it's because of that, or is it because like people generally just want to watch the first three. But I also think the franchise has a little bit of a problem to keep going, because if you think about it, those movies were made back in the 80s. And like, for instance, somebody like that is, younger, maybe in their 20s, they may not want to go check something like that out. You know what I mean? Because if you didn't grow up with that, some of them may not be thinking that's like the new hip thing, I guess. I don't know if it's because of that, because if you also think about it too, they have a little bit of an older audience too. And I think a lot of the older audiences aren't going to theaters anymore. They're doing a lot of streaming. So I think that's part of it. And then part of the fact that now with these movies, they're out, and then 3-4 weeks later, they're already on digital. So it makes people not want to go to the theater because they know they'll just wait 3 or 4 weeks and it's on digital. And the way they see it is it's $20 to rent. So if a couple goes out or if a family goes out, they can just pay $20, save the money, and not, pay $10 a person for a ticket. They'll watch it at home. So I think that's kind of the problem, because it has to be something that, people really want to see. And I think part of the problem was people really love that the first three, and the fourth one is really what turned a lot of people off.
I think the fourth one ruined it.
Yeah, it ruined it for a lot of people. So I think like nobody was like, I'm not watching the fifth one, or like they'll wait to watch it later. So I think that's what happened and why it didn't make money.
Yeah.
Right. So on number 4.
All right. So we're going back to me.
Yep.
All right. My number 4 is going to be another kids franchise, but Toy Story. Toy Story 1 through 4, man. This kicked off Pixar. I know we've talked about, we did a live stream a while ago. We talked about Pixar, and Toy Story is just, it's like the iconic, like, start off of Pixar and their animation and the way that they do emotional movies. The first movie is another movie, Jason, where I literally can quote it. I can sit there and watch it and know the lines.
I hear that.
It's one of those movies, like, there's not a lot of movies where I can turn on and just, and it's not a long movie either. The first one, I think it's only like 80 minutes or something like that. So it's very easy to digest, chill with the family. Tom Hanks does such a great job. Tim Allen, I love Tim Allen as Buzz. I didn't like when they didn't have him in Lightyear at all. That really turned me off, to be honest with you. And there's so many iconic characters in there. Like, I love, like, they're at the birthday party. They got the toy soldiers. They're watching out like the birthday party. That's great. I love that, Sid's the villain. He's crossed the street and everything, and like the toys are going back and forth and everything. Pizza Planet. I always have said when I was a little kid, I wish they would make a Pizza Planet restaurant.
I've always thought that as well.
Awesome. Yeah. just like the arcade and everything, and
Yeah.
like different kinds of pizzas. That'd be so cool. Like,
I want to go into Al's Toy Barn.
yeah.
Alice Toy Barn,
Yeah. Alice Toy Barn. The second one, with God, I forgot the guy's name now, but the guy with the glasses, the evil guy. Yeah, like he's a fun character, and I feel like all of them are good. Like honestly, after the third one, I was kind of like, that ended at a good spot. I think they probably should have stopped there, but they just couldn't, and they kept going. The fourth one's grown on me over time, but it's still my least favorite, I would say, out of all four.
I agree.
But that first one just it always hits. There's so many characters I like from there. Rex is a fun character. I love him.
Love him.
I love Mr. Potato Head and Mrs. Potato Head as a couple. They're fun. I love when she opens up his butt and she puts all the stuff in it. Here's your angry eye.
Here's your angry eye.
And like she's packing all this stuff in him and stuff. It's just funny. It's a fun movie, and all of them are fun. So that's my number 4.
Oh, yeah.
Toy Story 2 is probably my favorite one. I think I even saw Toy Story 2 before the first one.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Yeah, I saw them all at the theater, so that was a fun experience to see them all at the theater.
Oh yeah.
So I'm interested again. I'm interested to see because they're supposed to be doing a 5th one.
Yeah, I think
First one, 1995. So you were pretty young.
Yeah, I didn't go to a lot of movies when I was younger, but that was one.
Yeah.
I think like most of the stuff that I saw in theaters, usually like the Disney cartoons. Like I remember seeing Aladdin in the theater and Lion King.
Wow.
Like I think Lion King may have been my first Disney movie. I think.
Yeah.
Pretty sure. So.
I think it would be mine. Yeah.
What was your first, your first kids movie? Do you remember, Adam?
I think it might be Monsters Inc.
Monsters Inc.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, that's a great one too. If you guys ever go to Disney, they have a really cool thing with Monsters Inc.
Yeah, you have a picture of Foley, don't you?
Yeah.
Well,
I mean, the ride.
Yeah, you can meet him, and then they have what you call it's called the laugh floor, and you get to go in there and you get to watch a live comedy show with like some of the monsters.
Okay.
And you also can text in jokes too, and like they have a microphone. They go around people, and like the guys are talking to the different audience and stuff. It's a very interactive show.
Okay.
It's not too long, but it's it's for the kids. So like they're not like, they're appropriate jokes. You know what I mean? You know what I mean? They're like they're like dad jokes is what I call them. Dad jokes. But I've gotten my joke on there before and gotten on the screen and everything. So that was always really
fun.
Oh,
that'd be awesome.
So, it's a fun interactive show. So if you ever go, like that is the fun thing. And then also too, they have like Toy Story Land and everything like that, which is really cool. So yeah, I love Pixar. Pixar is the top up there for me for sure.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
So that's my number 4.
Yeah, Aladdin was my first movie I saw back in '92.
Yeah, I love that still.
Oh yeah. Great.
I will say this though, the sequels though, they didn't really align too much to me liking them as much as the first one. Right. Return of Jafar and King of Thieves. King of Thieves is pretty bad.
It's pretty bad, yeah.
I think I've seen it, but I can't remember anything about it.
Yeah.
And even Return of Jafar, I watched it recently because I think for the longest time they had it on VHS, and I got rid of my VHS movies ages ago. Yeah. I haven't had them in a long time. I personally don't have a nostalgia for them at this time. I think they're pointless even to really, have that as a physical media item because they're such a pain to have to rewind them, and there's just we've moved on to better things is how I feel. But I understand if you wanted to display them or something like that, maybe. But everybody's different. But I got rid of them a while ago, and then when they brought Disney Plus to the picture and they had Return of Jafar and King of Thieves, and I watched it, I was like, this is not that good. Like, I like this. So the first one is the one we will stick with. it's just amazing. Like you watch them as a kid, then you get to watch it as an adult, and you go, "I like this."
Yeah, I know. Oh yeah, all the time.
Like, what was I thinking?
Yeah, I can't believe I like stuff.
Yeah,
Yeah,
so
I'm
it's
not a
interesting.
fan of direct-to-DVD Disney sequels.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Like they have a ton of stuff like
Oh,
Pocahontas 2, Cinderella 2 and 3, like,
yeah.
and they
Oh yeah.
just don't
Yeah,
line up. The original is always the best.
Oh yeah, definitely.
every time, yeah.
Yep.
Oh yeah.
Well,
Alright.
yeah, you're number 4, Jason.
All right, number 4, another favorite action franchise of mine, and that is Mission Impossible.
Ooh,
Nice.
I have 3 through 6. I don't have the first 2. I'm not as crazy about the first 2 Mission Impossibles. I've seen all 6 or 7. Wait a minute, there's 7 now, I guess.
Yeah.
I've seen all 7 in the movie theater. So I've watched. I remember the first one in 1996 when I was 13 years old, seeing it, and I thought it was great. When I saw it at the time, Tom Cruise wasn't really an action star at the time. I mean, he was, a big star, definitely. He came off of like A Few Good Men and stuff like that. I'm not sure what else, but to me, I love Tom Cruise. He's like one of my favorite actors now, and I think a lot of that's because Mission Impossible. Growing up watching him in that, and it's one of the greatest action franchises of all time, in my opinion. And it's just, and what's great about it is I feel like it's been solid throughout the series, excluding the first 2. I mean, first one's okay. It's not as much action in it. It's a little more slow moving to me. It's more the spy thing. Second movie, I think is definitely the worst one because
yeah.
just too action. It's too stylized action. The storyline's not that good. I don't know. It's just a boring movie. It's not one I go back to. But then 3 through 7 have been really good. Like that's what really marks it on my list. They just really stepped up a notch, and Tom Cruise has just become this iconic, action star now, and a guy that's doing his own stunts. That's very rarely ever heard of. That the main star is going to do their maybe not all their stunts, but they're doing these really dangerous stunts, like hanging off of a huge building, hanging off of an airplane, going up in the air, going underwater for
yeah.
holding your breath for 5 minutes underwater, or whatever he did for the one, anyways, and jumping off of a motorcycle and parachuting. I mean, it's just insane. The guy's like 60 some years old now, and it's just crazy how good he's doing. Yeah, I just love the action sequence. It's kind of almost like James Bond, but because you got the gadgets. I love the gadgets, and I guess what makes them stand out amongst action movies is definitely the stunt work is just top notch. The different places they go and the stunts they do, and it's always we have to break into this place that's really hard to break into, and here's how we're going to do it. And I love all that. Like right. That's the impossible part. Like it's impossible to break into this place, but we're going to do it. And it's like, oh man, how are they going to do it? And it's great because you see technology really expanding over the movies from 96 to 2023, where it's like the technology is just absolutely incredible, where you can put things in your eyes and you can do facial recognition or something, or all these kind of things. Anyway, it's such a fun movie series too. I mean, I love Simon Pegg when they brought him into it, and it brought some comic relief into it. I really enjoyed that, and the mission is just incredible. This last one, I thought was another just solid entry into the franchise. I definitely love 3. I really love 3. I don't know why. That's one that I really go back to. I think because of Philip Seymour Hoffman. I just love him as a villain in this one, and J.J. Abrams I thought did a good job directing, but Ghost Protocol and Rogue Nation are definitely up there, some of my favorites in this franchise anyway. So I'm excited. They got one more I think left in them, so hopefully they end on a good note, and I'll be there.
Mm-hmm. So for me, I have never seen any of this. I will say this: I haven't seen a lot of Tom Cruise movies. He wasn't an actor that I really grew up with. my path on movies is so different from everybody else because my parents aren't very into movies as much. So like
Okay.
a lot of it was kind of self discovery when it comes
Okay.
to movies. But like with Mission Impossible, yeah, I've heard a lot of mixed things about the movies. Like some people, when I watched a lot of people's reviews for the seventh one, and I mean, I didn't see like any negative reviews really at all for that movie at all. So it seemed like a lot of people really liked it, and a
Mm-hmm.
lot of people, when I was commenting on their videos, saying that I haven't seen any of them, a lot of people had different opinions as to which ones you should watch and which ones you should not watch. Like
Yeah.
everybody's all over the map with them.
Yeah.
So I guess it just depends on, if you like the story and the villains. I'm assuming villains are better than others in certain movies.
Yeah, because villains change for the most part with each movie, so yeah, it definitely makes a
Yeah.
difference.
Yeah, and then he has
Yeah.
a different mission and
Mhm.
different scenery, different stunts.
Yeah.
I'm sure some have better stunts than others, and
Yeah.
and that also includes the fact that as time goes on, we get better tech and
Yeah.
better ways to do stunts. So like from '96 to now, I mean, obviously there's going to be a difference. So that's probably why a lot of the younger crowd doesn't seem to like the first two, from what I've gathered.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm not too crazy on the first two.
yeah, is it
Yeah.
because of the stunts and the villains or story, or like what do you feel is like
They
is
feel
not as
just
good?
different than the other ones. The first one, like I said, just is a little more slow moving. There's not a lot of action scenes in it.
Yeah.
It's more of the spy, like, oh, who did it? Who's behind this? And the second movie was John Woo. So John Woo brought in his very slow motion, stylized action to it.
Mhm.
It just feels different than all the other movies.
Yeah.
It feels over the top, I think, in a sense. And the stunts got really good by the third one. I feel like they almost rebooted the series with the third one. I feel like there was a bit of a gap, if I remember right, from the second to the third movie. I might be wrong, but once they got to the third movie, I feel like they really just hit on all cylinders. Yeah, like you said, stunt work and everything, story wise. Yeah.
I got you. Interesting. Okay.
We've got Garrett here. So Garrett, Toy Story isn't a kids franchise. It's a great animated franchise, so okay for kids to watch.
Yeah.
Sounds good.
These bits like Disney World kind of disappointing.
Yeah. I know what he
I've
means.
never been. But Woody somehow end up with adult Andy's kids in Toy Story 5. That would be great.
Yeah, I think he's supposed to be involved in this new one.
Oh, really?
So. Supposedly. That's the rumor. I don't know.
That's crazy. They brought in that actor as a kid in the first Toy Story, and they brought him back for the third one, I think. And the same actor. I don't know if he's even an actor. It's just a kid that they because I feel like they didn't deal with, because there was a big gap, I think, between the second and third movie. I want to say.
Over 10 years.
Okay, yeah, so a long gap. So then it was like they weren't sure if they could find the original actor that played the first one, because I don't know if he's gone on to do anything else besides Toy Story. But they found him for the third movie, which I thought was kind of cool that they brought back for the third one.
Oh wow.
Yeah.
That's interesting.
The other sequels are terrible and poorly animated.
Yeah, they are
a
pretty
little
bad.
cheap looking. Yeah.
Don't do anything to advance the story of the first film.
No, I agree. They're like their own things.
Yeah.
And he thinks Bishop Possible Dead Reckoning is amazing. I agree. I thought it was amazing as well.
That's funny. I'm bringing up all these franchises, and Ryan's like, never seen it. I'm like, oh, wow.
Well, it's not going to be in there,
Mike.
I've only seen the first two.
That's not going to be in there for me. I'm joking, it is. It's number 4 for me.
Number 4.
Yeah.
Yeah, they actually over here, I don't know if you saw, Jason, they're bringing Back to the Future to the big screen on October 21st for one night.
Oh, sweet.
So
I wonder if they're doing that in the UK.
I don't know. I actually saw Back to the Future, the first one, during COVID, because they had it in theaters because they weren't playing any movies.
Oh,
and I saw it for $5, and I really enjoyed it. So that was my first time seeing it 3 years ago.
3 years ago.
So another movie I was behind on.
I know, man.
But yeah, I love all these movies, and of course came up in 1985 all the way to 1990. My least favorite, although I still think it's it's a really great film, and that's Back to the Future Part 2. I just think Part 2 just didn't get me the way that the first and the third one did, in my opinion. I found it a bit confusing, and yeah, just didn't think it was as good as the first and third. The first Back to the Future movies, one of my favorite movies of all time. It's one I could watch over and over. And the third Back to the Future film, I think I've only seen it all the way through once or twice, so I'm definitely going to rewatch that one at some point. Yeah, I hope Mike's pleased with Back to the Future being
Oh,
here.
he's very pleased.
Sure he is.
Yeah. I've seen those movies so many times ever since I was a kid. Loved Back to the Future. Indiana Jones, that's like funny. Like I remember watching Indiana Jones and Back to the Future as a kid. Two of my favorite, that trilogies are so good. You know, Star Wars you put up in there, like those are childhood favorites.
Yeah.
Yeah, that first one hits so well. And the first time I watched it, what is his name? Gosh, forgot the actor's name now. What's the guy with the white hair? Yes.
Yeah.
He was in a childhood movie that I watched called Angels in the Outfield.
Yeah.
So I always remember him from that.
Yeah.
So when I saw him, I'm like, oh yeah, I know him.
Yeah.
So, my first time seeing it on big screen, it was really fun and enjoyable. And kind of bummed out that I didn't get a chance to see that earlier on and not so late in life. But better late than never, I guess.
Oh,
but,
yeah.
That first one was really good. The second one, obviously, I agree with Adam that it's not as good as the first one, obviously, but I didn't hate it or anything like that. Like I'd watch it again. And then the third one I haven't watched. That's the one where is that like a Western one or something? Yeah, that one I haven't seen. But the first two I have seen, and I liked them both. But definitely the first one's like iconic. Like
it's one of the great of all time.
Yeah,
that's like a 5 out of 5.
It's one of the goats. It's definitely one of the goats. Yeah.
Yeah.
So we all agree on that.
Oh yeah. 100%.
Our top 3.
All right. So number 3 for me will be Lord of the Rings. Now, I'm only including the first original 3 and the Hobbits because I haven't seen any of the Hobbits.
Oh, you haven't seen the Hobbits? Okay.
I haven't seen any of the Hobbits. But the first 3, man, like these movies, I've never read any of the books, so I may not understand every little thing in that on these movies. But just like I feel like those movies, they really like changed like the whole like action scene, and I love the fantasy genre. I don't do a lot of reading, but like growing up, like I always read a lot of like fantasy books and stuff like that. So these kinds of movies are definitely up my alley when it comes to like fantasy kind of things. And they have this ring, they have, and like the hobbits and the different creatures that you see in it, as it's dark moments. And those extended versions, man, they're long. They're like
they are really long.
I got the extended versions on 4K. I haven't got a chance to crack them out, but I watched them a while back. When HBO Max was called HBO Max. And they are so long. They're like 4 hours. But it's a lot to to take in. There's a lot going on. For some people it may feel kind of slow at points, and there is some slow parts, I would say.
Mm-hmm.
But if you're into like fantasy and stuff like that, it's beautiful. Like some of like the scenery, and just like the cinematography is so good, and the score is really good.
Mm-hmm.
It's just they're good directed movies to me, and
I'm definitely gonna rewatch them.
Yeah,
I've only seen them all the way through once.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Okay.
I wasn't that crazy on them, to being honest.
Oh, okay.
Oh, you didn't care for them that much?
But I was only about 12 years old, though.
Oh,
yeah.
So I was probably a bit young watching them.
Mm.
Yeah. I've seen all the Hobbit films as well. And I didn't mind them.
Oh yeah,
No,
I've seen love Lord of the Rings. I remember I was like a senior in high school when the Fellowship of the Ring came out, and that was huge. Yeah, in the fantasy genre, there's nothing bigger than Lord of the Rings.
Yeah, I didn't watch the show, but I've heard the show isn't that good.
So, no, the show's not good.
Yeah, I heard like it just looks like one really good shot piece, but just not very good story. So I haven't bothered with it.
Nah.
I've not really heard many people talk about it either.
Yeah.
No, not at all. So I thought they said they're making another one. I think there's like another one they're working on. I thought they said something with the Hobbit or something. I could be wrong. I thought they were working on something else, but
maybe.
Yeah, it's a fun franchise. I enjoy it. So that's my number 3.
Yeah.
We've all gone something different so far.
Yeah.
Are we all different?
Yeah.
Yeah. All right. Number 3 for me. It's like a franchise within a franchise. So, but I'm calling it the Avengers franchise, which is the 4 Avenger movies. The Avengers Age of Ultron, Avengers Infinity War, and Avengers Endgame. Obviously, you can talk about the whole MCU, I suppose, as a franchise, but there's just so many movies, and it just grows all the time that it's easier just to stick with the 4 movies for me. It's called that a franchise in a sense, since it's 4 movies long, basically. Even though it's definitely, obviously, Avengers is a combination of all the other MCU movies and the characters brought in, but if you just take those 4 movies, I mean, it is incredible. The best in the superhero genre.
Yeah.
When the first Avengers movie came out in theaters, it blew my mind away. I mean, like, I don't know if anybody can understand. Like, I always think, do kids understand? Like, growing up, it was like you had, Superman from like the 80s, and you had Batman from, the 90s. And then I feel like X-Men kind of changed the game a little bit when they came in, and Spider-Man came in around the same time, and those were really like game changers in the superhero genre. And then when you get to this period, where in the Iron Man, I think, came out in 2008 or so, or something like that. Anyways, and you had, like, of course, the Batman Begins franchise was also at that time. But when Iron Man came out, it was great. But when Nick Fury shows up at the very end, and it's like, oh, I'm putting a team together, and we're like, what's that about? Like, because I didn't read the comics, so I was like, I had no idea who Nick Fury was or Avengers were. I never heard of the Avengers. But when that happened, and everybody's like, oh, the Avengers, I'm like, what's the Avengers? And then in the second movie, Incredible Hulk, Iron Man shows up at the very end of the Incredible Hulk, like in the post-credit sequence, and I was like, wait a minute, what's he doing in this movie? Like, it just blew my mind, because you never saw superheroes in other superhero movies.
Yeah.
A whole new thing. Like, I didn't know it was possible. And it just, like, at the time I was like, wait a minute, what's going on here? And then when the third movie, other movies are coming out, and you're just like, wait a minute, we're going to put all these characters together in one movie? Like, that had never been done before. I don't know how to explain it, but that was just groundbreaking in my opinion. Like, we've never seen, you make this superhero, and then you combine them. It's like,
yeah,
what? Like, I didn't know that was possible. And so I remember there's so much hype, of course, around the first Avengers movie coming together. It was the first time we ever did this before, and it totally killed. It was like one of the biggest box office movies of all time. I mean, everybody saw this movie, and yeah, it was great. The action was just astounding. The New York scene at the end was one of the best action sequences I've ever seen, where all the Avengers get together, and the camera's almost feels like one shot where the camera's just following one superhero, and then it just pans over. Here's another superhero fighting over here. Then pans over here. Here's another superhero, and it's like, what? Like, it was like the coolest thing ever, anyways. And so, like, that was just mind blowing. And I thought that was the end of the franchise. And it's like, oh no, there's a second Avengers movie. I'm like, oh, they're gonna do it again. And I personally really love Age of Ultron. A lot of people don't like that as much, but I still really have a kick out of it. Again, I love when they team up together and they're fighting together. I just absolutely love it. Bringing all these characters in. Infinity War is the only one I don't really like that much, which is surprising, because everybody's like, Infinity War is their favorite. I hear so many people say, in fact, Adam, I think that's his favorite.
Yeah, it's my favorite Marvel movie of all time.
Yeah, he loves.
Wow.
Yeah, everybody's like, I love Infinity War. And I'm just like, Infinity War just feels incomplete because it's the first of two movies basically, and I don't know. I'm not as into Infinity War, but you have to have Infinity War to have Endgame.
Right.
Endgame doesn't work unless what happens in Infinity War happens. You don't have Endgame. Endgame's my favorite superhero of all time. It's one of my favorite movies of all time. I've talked so much about it on my channel. I saw that when went and saw Endgame in the theater. It was the greatest movie experience I've ever had in my life. Like I'm watching with this audience, and we're all crying like at the end, and I could hear
Yeah.
like I was crying, which is weird because I'm like I never cry in a superhero movie. Superhero movies aren't supposed to make me cry. I was crying at the end of that movie, and the
Yeah.
people next to me were crying because I could hear them crying. I'm like, oh my gosh, we're all feeling the same feeling. It was just an incredible experience to feel those feelings at the same time with an audience.
Mhm.
I can't explain. Just the scene where everybody comes back through the portals. I had goosebumps all over and I still watch it today, and I still have goosebumps. Like I
still get the same feeling as when we first watched
the
it.
best. It's the best feeling I've ever had watching a movie. That moment when everybody comes back, and you're like, "Oh my gosh, it's happening!" We're bringing in 20, like I don't know how many movies, 20 movies or 19 movies, and we're bringing all these characters from these movies and putting them in this one action scene. Oh, it's the greatest thing ever.
Yeah, I remember when it came out, and at the time, I was working a second job at the theater, and I'm telling you, since I had worked briefly at a theater, uh, doing that movie, I've never seen a movie theater so crowded in my entire life. Like that was
Yeah.
sold out shows. It didn't matter what time of the day it was, because I remember we did like midnight showings, and that movie was ending at like 3 a.m, and yeah, it just I just don't know if there'll ever be a movie like that again where there's that much hype around it, and just so much interest from like the general audience too. Um, and I remember watching it too. And my wife was crying with the towards the end as well. So, and I think also too because the franchise, the whole MCU started with Iron Man.
Mm-hmm.
I
Yeah.
think that brings back to like where were you when that first movie came out and stuff like that. And so you get the feels with all that.
Yeah.
I'm like you, Jason. I like the second one a lot.
Okay.
The first one I haven't watched in a while, but I don't remember liking that one as much.
Mm-hmm.
And I like Infinity War as well, but I think Age of Ultron has always stuck out to me. I think it may have been the villain maybe for that one. But yeah, it's a good franchise. It's not one that I've watched a ton of times, just mainly because I watch so much stuff that a lot of times I don't revisit stuff a million times.
Right.
Maybe when I was like younger, I used to do that a lot with like kids movies and
Yeah.
stuff because I would limited stuff. But as an adult, when I have so much at my fingertips and so much stuff that I haven't seen, I don't tend to watch movies over and over and over again, just because I have so much stuff I've always wanted to watch. So, but like it's a good franchise. I definitely see why it's on your list, and I don't know if there'll be a bigger superhero franchise or crave with that with those moments ever again. Honestly, I don't know if it can honestly get to that point again. I feel like MCU, they're trying to build this whole thing up with Kang, and then like they have the trouble with that guy right now. I don't know what's going on with his legal stuff. I haven't paid attention to it, but yeah, but I feel like they're trying to build that up, but I just don't know if it's ever going to get to that point again.
Right.
I just think that was like the pinnacle. It's almost like when you play like a really good video game and like that was the height of the video game, and then after you beat it you're done, and then like now it feels like with MCU we're doing a bunch of side quests within the game we've already beat. And yeah, you know what I mean? Like we're going back and we're doing other stuff, but like we've already beat the game and we're just doing side stuff around that game that we already beat. So that's how I feel about MCU at this point.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, because DC tried to do it, but they have not been as successful at trying to bring characters together into one movie.
Yeah.
they've tried it with like King Kong and Godzilla, and I don't think that's worked as well either.
Mm-hmm.
So it's definitely, it was such a huge hit that everybody's trying to copy Marvel, but have not done it as well.
Yeah, DC is really struggling to do a connection like MCU is, like you were saying. I feel like they have some decent single movies, but I think because people have seen how Marvel knows how to connect their characters and stories together, that they personally don't want to watch a movie like Blue Beetle and have like no connection to anything else again. Like they
Yeah.
just feel like they're wasting their time
Yeah.
watching a movie that is like just a single movie, kind of like with Shazam. Like, you know, they're apparently supposed to be rebooting stuff. Like people are just kind of like, well, they're not going to involve him anyway, so like, what's the point of watching it? So I think that's it depends on your mentality, how you feel. Like if you just want to watch a superhero movie, I personally don't think those movies are bad. But if you're looking for like a story to continue like an MCU and connect, like it's not there, obviously. So I think it just depends on like how you feel about just watching a single superhero movie and taking it for what it is, and like it doesn't have a build up to anything. So it just depends on the individual.
Yeah. So before we get to my number 3, let's see what's going on here. Got John.
Hey, John.
Hello.
John.
What up?
Right. Yeah. So it's something you did trilogy for Christmas.
I'll gladly take it, buddy.
Well,
Yeah,
sort of
to see
Have you gone for the Dark Tower series by Stephen King or the Game of Thrones books by George R.R. Martin?
I've not
No,
read those.
I've not read them.
I have the first book, Game of Thrones book, and it's I love the series. It's one of my favorite TV series, the Game of Thrones. So I definitely want to read through the books. The first book is really good. So he still has like 2 more books to write, but it's taken him decades to try to write the next one.
Oh,
So,
wow.
it's like this guy's never going to write this. He's never going to finish this series. And it's like, come on. Dark Tower I haven't read. Yeah, I haven't read a lot of Stephen King.
Well, get to my number 3, which is, well, I put Pixar.
Oh,
But to
Pixar.
make it a bit fairer, I'll just count the Toy Story franchise.
Okay. Sounds good. Yeah, Toy
It's
Story.
Pixar, but more specifically the Toy Story franchise.
Mm.
Yeah. There's 27 Pixar movies from 1995 to 2023, but I'm only going to be talking about those 4 Toy Story films, and yeah, I enjoy all of them. Toy Story 4 is my least favourite, but I still think it's really great. But I'm not the biggest fan of the way it ended in that movie.
Mm.
But I think the more I watch it, the more I think actually the ending's not too bad. And
Yeah, girls.
I'm kind of hoping there is a Toy Story 5, but it's got a lot to live up to, though.
It has a lot to.
Yeah, I don't know what they're going to do.
Yeah. It's.
Yeah. I really thought that toys were going to be gone in Toy Story 3. I mean,
Yeah.
the aliens that saved them.
Yeah.
Well, I wonder if they would consider bringing Sid back and like making him like this big villain with toys in general. Maybe he hates toys or something, and like the toy story, like Woody and them have to save the toys or something. I don't know.
I don't know what they're gonna do because Woody and not really with the group anymore. I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't know what to think about it. I guess we'll just have to wait and see what a trailer looks like and what they come up with. I don't know. It's just it's always worrisome to me when a franchise is gone for a long time and then they come back and it's like been 5, 6, 7, 8 years, because a lot of the people are growing up, like like us. So, I mean, yeah, we still have a care for it, but they're still, I guess, like they try to get like younger kids to get on board with it and stuff, and get more people involved in the franchise. But I don't know. It's been so long, and I feel like they've faked us out so many times. Like they're like, yeah, the 3rd one's gonna be the last one. Oh yeah, the 4th one. It's gonna be the last one.
Yeah.
No,
yeah.
wait a minute. We got a 5th one now. It's are we gonna get a 6th one next? You know what I mean? Like after this one. So I don't know. I think Pixar, like they had their time where they were doing a lot of original stuff, and they still are, but they have been riding the sequel train a little bit more.
Well, their stuff has not made money lately.
Yeah.
What was the last one? Was Elemental the last one?
Yeah.
Well, that one actually turned out to do
It did?
well
Oh,
because
okay.
the foreign market helped it out.
Oh, okay.
So it actually, if I believe I'm correct, I think it made around 500 million. I think worldwide, I believe. So it actually recovered. I don't know if word of mouth or the foreign market helped it more. I think it was more the foreign market helped it out a little bit. So it actually wasn't a fail after all, like we originally thought. So.
Okay.
I don't know also too because I think it released in a time where it was smack dab right in the beginning of summer, and you kind of had a lot of movies coming out. You know, you had Indiana Jones around it.
Like Flash, maybe. I don't
You
know.
had Mission Impossible the week before. You had Spider-Man. Everybody was on the Spider-Man train
Oh yeah.
for all of June.
Yeah.
So that took away from it, I think. And you also have to figure too, if you think about it, they don't make a lot of kids movies. So like kids movies within a whole year spanned throughout the year. I mean, at the end of the year, most of us have probably seen what 5 or 6 kids movies, maybe like throughout the whole year. So they
Yeah.
don't make a whole lot. So having both Spider-Man and Elemental right within the 2 weeks like that, I think it was a huge mistake. I think they should have moved it. I think they could have moved it in July, maybe, or maybe further. I don't know, but I just feel like it was put in a really bad situation where it was at in the summer schedule, just because of you had. Plus, you had Transformers. Forgot about that too. So that's another movie that kids can see. So you had Spider-Man, Transformers, and you had what else was there? And then you had Indiana Jones. You had all that in a month. And so I don't know. It's just I think it's
So
the
it
way
got
they
lost.
marketed it too. What was it?
You got lost in the shuffle.
Yeah, it just got lost in the shuffle. I think there was just too much going on that month. So I think that's what hurt it.
Right. Well, I guess we'll get into our top two now. So, what's your second favorite film franchise, Ryan?
So my second favorite is a book series that I've read all of them as I was a kid, and it still holds up. Apparently, Rashad sleeps on these movies, but the Harry Potter franchise. So
Yeah.
he just
He does
shocks
not
me
like
every
them, does
time.
he?
I can't believe his reviews.
Yeah, every time Perret, like his last one with the
Kills me.
6th one,
Yeah.
he's killing me. I'm like, dude,
Oh, he killed me.
playing games and like,
Yeah,
dude,
he's not
come
paying
on, man,
attention.
it ain't that bad. But yeah, he cracks me up with that. But yeah, this franchise, you know, I feel like there's so many characters within those movies that have done so much stuff. Like they have such a phenomenal cast that are in so many different movies, and each of them have done so many different things. And I feel like translating that from book to screen is entirely difficult. And the fact that they can actually capture the magic of the castle, like literally the first few movies, like just capturing the castle and everything around it, like because I saw like where they filmed it and everything, and just the atmosphere. And I love, the first movie with him getting picked and with the sorting hat. And I just love like it just Quidditch and just all the different fantasy elements in the movie in general. Like it feels like a big movie, and that's why I love the franchise. I feel like every movie builds and builds and builds, especially like with them not wanting to say Voldemort, the who. And Ray Fiennes, he does such a good job in that role of Voldemort. Like he's so like if you're like a younger kid watching the franchise for the first time, like he's scary looking. And I just love like there's so much like there's dark magic in it. There's there's a lot of different moments in those movies. Like I feel like with each movie where you can really just appreciate like character development, and just like capturing the magic of the castle and just in general. Like I just think it's phenomenal fantasy franchise. And yeah, like I mean, their movies, they're rewatchable over and over. Like I would never get tired of them. So Yeah.
What's your favorite of those movies?
Oh man, that's tough because I like them all for different reasons. I think my least favorite has always been Azkaban for some reason. I think because the style is a lot different with that one.
Hmm.
Um, I've always loved Chamber of Secrets, but then I like those darker movies like Order of Phoenix is really good. And
I think
I
Chamber of Secrets has always been my favorite.
what is it?
Chamber of Secrets.
Yeah, I've always liked.
Yeah,
I
I
Yeah.
think
love.
Chamber of Secrets is one of my favorite books
Me too.
because
Yeah,
they go down to like the underground part of the school, and
yeah,
you got to find out who with the whole snake and everything, and like
yeah,
there's like a big mystery.
yeah,
And I love in the movie when they're doing the polyjuice potion, and
Mm.
Hermione turns into a cat or whatever. She had the wrong
Oh
wrong
yeah.
uh, the wrong
yeah,
sample. It's a little bit different than all the other movies because it's more of like a mystery kind of film compared to the other ones, and it focuses a lot more on the main characters a little bit more, I think, than maybe some of the other movies do. And yeah, that's one of my favorites for sure. And then obviously I love the last few because you're building up to the whole battle with Voldemort and all that. But overall, like I look back on those movies and I'm always seeing like so many characters do other things other than that. So I think like that movie really this franchise really paved a lot of the way for a lot of good actors. And I just think overall like it's a fun franchise and there's nothing that I would change about it, to be honest with you.
Cool. I've seen all those films twice.
Mm,
I've not revisited them in about 5 years, 5 or 6 years though.
fair enough.
It's funny. I didn't get onto the Harry Potter bandwagon until I was in college, and I think the first two movies had come out already, and I didn't see them in theater. And it wasn't until Prisoner of Azkaban, the third movie, I think I saw that one in theater. And I saw the first two first on TV, and I was like, "Wow, this is pretty good. I kind of like this." And then I started reading the series after I saw the first two movies. I'm like, I want to read the series, so I started reading the series. And then the third movie was the first one. So the third movie to the seventh or the eighth movie, I guess. The third movie to the eighth movie I saw in the theater. Yeah, and yeah, it was. I mean, huge. I mean, all the movies made tons of money.
Yeah,
And maybe
Yeah.
one of the biggest money franchises of all time. So that's why they're trying to capture the magic with Fantastic Beasts, and it just did not work at all. And
it's
I don't know. They're going to redo the series on HBO, I think, and
Yes, I heard.
we'll see. It's such a great story. It makes so much money. They're not going to, if it makes money, they're not going to get rid of it. They're just going to, like Lord of the Rings, they're going to keep trying.
Yeah,
As long as it makes money, they're going to keep trying to make more stuff. We'll see.
that's true.
what's your second favorite, Jason?
Well, you guys have mentioned it already, and I agree. It is Toy Story.
Heck yeah.
Number 2 on my list. So I was glad to see you guys had it on yours as well. It's the greatest animation franchise of all time by far. I mean,
Without question. Yeah.
What?
Without question, definitely.
Without question, yeah.
Yeah.
The fact that they made 4 movies and all 4 I think are great. Like I think is a perfect franchise. That's why I had to put number 2 because I was like, it's very hard to make 4 movies be good in a franchise.
Yeah.
Like usually have like even my Mission Impossible or James Bond or even Avengers. There's one movie where I'm like, I'm not as crazy about this one. It kind of hurts the franchise. This is one where all 4 movies, great movies. They're all like, I think when me and Adam did our top 10 favorite animation movies, 3 of them were in my top 10. I mean, that's and when I did my Pixar ranking, Toy Story 2 was number 1 on my list.
Oh wow.
Favorite Pixar movie of all time, and I think Toy Story 4 and Toy Story were in my top 5. So I think 3. It's funny. Third one I'm not as crazy about. I still really like it, but it's the weakest for me. But I know a lot of people are like the third one's their favorite, and so I'm a weird one where I'm like third one's my least favorite, but still a really good movie. And I really like the fourth one. That's my second favorite out of the franchise because it makes me laugh so hard. Sport was it
It is a very funny one, yeah.
Forky?
Forky, yeah.
he makes me laugh so much.
He
Trying
is
to run
funny.
away at the beginning of the film.
Yeah,
Keeps
right.
wanting to go in the trash.
Yeah, well, the way he walks, it's like,
Yeah.
and I love Kaboom, whatever.
Duke
The
Kaboom, yeah.
the Keanu Reeves, Canadian evil
Yeah.
Knievel. So funny. I mean, Ducky and Bunny, I think, or whatever.
Mhm.
I mean, all the characters they bring in is just absolutely hilarious, and so many great scenes. But anyways, I really love that movie, and I think the ending, like, oh man, I tear up at the ending because I'm like, no,
Yeah.
these two, because I mean, obviously, I saw this movie back in 1995, the first one, when I was like 12 years old, and that was such a huge, how do I say, a monumental movie in my life because like we've never seen a 3D movie or whatever, a computer animated movie before. It's always been 2D animation, which is great. But when they put out Toy Story, it was like blew your mind. I was like, I can't believe they did this. Like, I didn't know this was a thing, possibility, making a movie like this, like the way they did it. And it's just a perfect story. It's like one of the best screenplays I think ever written. It's just story wise, just so amazing. The whole, I love the whole Buzz character arc. From thinking he's a real Buzz Lightyear, and then that moment when he realizes he's just a toy. Oh, so good.
That bit always gets to me.
Oh, so good. Like, yeah, you feel for the character, but then after that, he comes assimilated with the other toys, and he's just part of the group. And then him and Woody, it's one of the best duos of all time, I guess. So that fourth movie gets me emotionally because I'm just like, oh, they're splitting up the duo. It's like, oh,
Yeah.
and it brings me back to my childhood. I'm like, oh man,
You make me want to rewatch all of them now.
Yeah.
Yeah, because I've just been in love with these movies since I was 12 years old, and I've seen them all in the theater, and every movie just had a great story to it. It's funny. The characters, like I said, I mean, the character work is great. I said Don Rickles, so funny as Mr. Potato Head, and Rex. Love Rex because he's so neurotic. He's always, oh no, is it another dinosaur? Or am I scary enough? He's just always worried about things, and I think I like that because I worry about everything. So I'm like, I'm totally with you, Rex. I'm worried too. And and the pig, what's his Ham. I mean, all the characters, the Slinky Dog, and I was just thinking, like, because Jim Neighbors, is it Jim Neighbors? What's his name? Slinky Dog, that guy died that did that voice. Don Rickles died. Mrs. Potato Head, she's died since. So it's like all these characters. Oh man, like we've lost a lot of these great actors. The voice acting, just phenomenal. Mm-hmm. I love every time they bring in new characters. The new characters are great. I mean, Jesse is Jesse when they brought in Jesse in the second movie.
I really enjoyed Barbie as well.
Barbie is Barbie and Ken were great in the third movie.
I say Jesse's backstory is really sad.
I was gonna say
that makes me cry every time.
It is so sad.
I was gonna say when I thought about my favorite, like when I did my Pixar ranking, it was like I think Toy Story 2 was number 1, Monsters Incorporated was number 2 on my list, and like Toy Story 4 was like 3rd on my list, and like Toy Story was like 4th or 5th. It was like, and I was like thinking like, oh, going back and forth, what should be my number 1? And when I thought about that scene where Jesse sings that song, I just thought Toy Story 2 is number 1 because of that song. That really pulls it over the edge. It's like none of the other movies have that in it. That song, Oscar nominated song. Plus the whole Darth Vader thing with
whoa.
Oh, that's the funniest scene of all the movies.
That's hilarious.
Every time I watch that, I die laughing. I've seen it so many times, and I still die laughing with the and
the Jurassic Park reference.
That's another great reference. The Jurassic Park scene in the Alice Toy Barn. There's so many funny scenes in that movie and great references, and overall a really good storyline, I think. But yeah, Toy Story is just a perfect franchise, so I put it number 2.
Yeah,
glad we can agree.
Yeah.
John saying Martin keeps going back in time instead of forward. Frustrating. Well, my number 2 is Marvel. Well, I'll say more specifically the Avengers movies. So I'll just mention about the Avengers movies. But overall, the Marvel films are about 33 films from 2008 to 2023. And the Avengers movies, of course, there's 4 of them. Infinity War is my favorite superhero movie. My second favorite, well, I think my second favorite is the original Spider-Man, and then my third favorite is Avengers Endgame.
That's right. Yeah.
I love the first 2 Avengers films as well. I think Avengers Age of Ultron is quite underrated.
Yeah.
I've always really enjoyed that one.
Yeah. Okay. Good.
I get people's frustrations with that one, but I still find it really enjoyable. Yeah, I've watched all these films, and the ones I can definitely watch over and over. Those Avengers movies. So many incredible characters and lines and moments.
Yeah.
Oh, for sure.
And I like the comedy in them. I guess a lot. I think a lot of people
they're very funny films.
There's been a lot of criticism that there's too much comedy in superhero movies. I feel like, and I'm like, I like comedy in superhero movies, so I'm like all for it.
I think you did put just the right amount of humor in those films as well.
Thor: Love and Thunder didn't hit with me, the comedy part.
No, it didn't get.
Like they tried, they just didn't work.
Those laughing goats. They're really annoying.
But Thor and Ragnarok is one of the funniest movies. Like I absolutely love that. So I don't know why it hit with me on Ragnarok, missed with me on Love and Thunder. I don't know, but
it's the same to me. Yeah.
Yeah, I don't like Love and Thunder either.
Didn't try too hard on that one.
Yeah, they probably did try too hard. Yeah.
And who knows what they'll do with the 5th one? I don't know what they're gonna do.
I don't know.
Who knows at this point?
It might be the complete opposite. It might be a really serious and dark movie.
I don't know, man. Hopefully it's no more laughing goats.
Yeah.
As long as they don't bring them back, I'm all right.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah, Goats and Zeus I thought were just so terrible. I don't know.
Yeah, it was awful. Probably the worst Russell Crowe performance ever.
Oh, 100%. The worst.
The way he's holding that like lightning bolt.
Yeah.
It looks like a prop from a toy store.
Yeah.
Yeah, not good. Not a good character. But I guess we'll now move on to what we think our favorite film franchise is.
One.
All right.
I think you know what yours is, Jason.
You do?
Well, yeah, but we'll get to Ryan first.
We'll see.
Then we'll see what yours is.
I guess you'll say that I broke Jason's rule with the franchise, but I'm going with a trilogy. Going with the Dark Knight trilogy.
Okay.
Ooh.
Yeah, Dark Knight. Man, it's just it's my kind of superhero film. I think between Batman and Spider-Man, I think those are the like superheroes that I grew up with mostly through as a kid, because I did watch some of the cartoons with Batman and Spider-Man. I wouldn't say like I'm overly like super hyped about superhero films all the time. It really depends with me, but I like the serious tone of the Dark Knight trilogy. I love Heath Ledger as the Joker. He is iconic. And not to take away from Joaquin Phoenix as Joker, because I think he's really good as well.
Mm-hmm.
But Heath Ledger was so good in that role.
Yeah.
It's kind of disturbing on how he kind of spiraled down like after the film and just where he was at in his life. I think about that so much when watching that film, because he's so legitimately in that role. Like he feels like that person, you know?
Very dark role, yeah.
Yeah, it's a very dark role. And I just think that I just don't know. And I've said this, I feel like every time villains come up, I feel like The Dark Knight is that movie where you compare villains to a Heath Ledger. I don't know if you guys ever find yourselves doing that, but I always feel myself going back to that because he just like put everything into that role. And just like I love like everything about the movie. Like it's so much fun. I even love Dark Knight Rises. I know some people, they don't like Bane, but I do like Bane. and I think he's much better representative of Bane than in the older Batmans.
Batman Robin.
Batman and
Yeah.
Robin. I just recently watched that for the first time, and I was like, "Are you serious? This is Bane?"
Yeah,
It was
like,
bad.
Yeah.
So I
yeah,
personally,
pretty bad.
yeah, I personally really like Dark Knight Rises. I love it when they blow up the stadium, the Pittsburgh Steelers stadium, because you know I'm a Ravens fan. So that's like my favorite part. I'm like, yes.
Oh my gosh.
It's terrible, I know, but you know, like if you're a Raven fan, you have that
Oh, yeah.
rivalry with the Steelers. So
Okay.
like when the stadium blows
That's-
up. But no, it's a fun franchise, and like I personally, Batman Begins is strong for me as the other two movies, but then again, I've only watched it like probably twice compared to the other two. But overall, like I love the trilogy, and I think it's definitely like in my top, like definitely for superhero films, and I think also just because like those are the ones that I've watched a little bit more than some of like the other superhero films, and I guess because I watched a lot of like the Batman cartoons and stuff growing up, so I think that like kind of helps into my nostalgia for that. Like a lot of people, they have nostalgia with like Michael Keaton and you know, some of the older Batmans, and I remember me and Rashad were talking about it, and Michael Keaton I don't see is as good because I think I've seen all the other Batmans before I saw him, and I think it would be different if that was what I was introduced to Batman back in those days, but because when those films came out, they were like when I was born, so I didn't see those films first. Not even until now, until you know my 30s. So I think like that's where like opinions can vary on Batman, but love the trilogy, and I love the new film with Pattinson as well.
I was going to ask you about
So, yeah, I do like him as well, and I'm very interested in the second one. So
I'm guessing they're going to make a series out of that one. A trilogy.
I'm guessing. I don't know.
I don't know.
I hope, but you know, you just never know. I don't know what they're doing now with this whole strike thing and what films are being worked on and what's not.
Right.
I just hope that next year doesn't turn into a bunch of shelf films that we get in theaters, because I'm feeling it's gonna be that way. Where we get a bunch of old movies that have been shelved and like they you know, because they're not gonna put anything out big if they can't promote it.
Right, exactly.
So I don't even know if Hunger Games is gonna stay in that spot that it's in. So I don't know. It's just a weird time with movies right now and franchises. So
yeah.
But yeah, that's my number one.
Great choice. I've only seen the Dark Knight all the way through. I started Batman Begins, but couldn't quite get into it.
Yeah.
But there was a while ago I tried to watch it.
Okay.
Yeah, Batman Begins is my favorite origin, I think, movie. Like, as far as telling an origin story, I think that movie does a really good job telling the origin story of Batman, better than anything else I've seen. So I love the first one because of that, the way they tell that story. You think Christian Bale is the best Batman? He's my favorite Batman, is Christian Bale.
I don't know if I have a favorite Batman.
Yeah.
Yeah, he's up there. I mean, Robert Pattinson was really good too, I thought, but we need to see more films with him to really get a full judgment, I think.
Yeah.
So I can't really say he's the best.
I think what's his name? Affleck, I thought, was actually a really good Batman.
Yeah. I liked him.
I thought Clooney was the worst one, but that was me.
Clooney, probably the worst. Yeah.
He's the worst one.
Yeah, I agree with that. Val Kilmer was okay. I mean,
yeah,
you know, it's funny that he just did the one movie and then that was it. But you know, and Keaton, my problem with Michael Keaton is that he just doesn't look big enough for the role. Like, I think Batman needs to be like really big and buff.
Yeah.
And I don't feel like Michael Keaton. He just looks small. When I watch those movies, I just feel like he doesn't look intimidating enough, in my opinion. But yeah.
Yeah, I think it just depends on how you grew up with Batman. Like, if those are like your first films, like that's your Batman because that's what you grew up with. But if you haven't, like, for me, I went backwards. So going back to that, I'm like, these are Batmans? Like, this is Batman?
Yeah.
This is not how I know Batman. So, like, I think it just depends. It really does.
So what's your Favorite franchise, Jason?
Well, Ryan mentioned this, and
Yeah, I think I know what it is as well.
my number one, it's Harry Potter.
Heck yeah.
Oh, I was thinking it was going to be something different.
Yeah.
I was thinking John Wick.
Oh, John Wick. I
Yeah.
considered it, but I didn't like the fourth movie. So
Yeah, I know you're not a fan of that one.
if the fourth movie would have nailed it, it definitely would have been in my top 5. But because the fourth movie kind of failed for me, I took it out of my top 5. But yeah, when I thought about when I was going through this franchise thing, I couldn't get away from Harry Potter. It's I have all the books. I've read through them many times. It's my favorite fantasy series of all time. As far as I love reading the books.
Yeah.
Like I said, I've read them 3 times now, I think, and I still get a lot of joy. Like I rarely ever go back and read a book again after I read it because I want to read new stuff. But Harry Potter is one series where I love going back to it every once in a while and going through the whole series again because it's the story is so great. I absolutely love the story. And the character development is some of the best I think ever made, in my opinion. And the character arcs, the ending it's the perfect ending. Like I always think Avengers Endgame was like the perfect ending to the Avengers series. And Harry Potter 7 was the movie wise, Hallows Part 2 was the perfect ending to that series. And that's important, I think. It's very important to nail the ending and really satisfy the audience, and that did it really good job, I think. And the book series as well. The 7th book is my favorite out of the series, just because the ending is so good. But I guess me, when I think about the series, as I've been thinking about it, because Breyer, he won my contest, my trivia contest I did last week.
Oh yeah.
And I said, pick a movie series you want me to review, and he picked Harry Potter series for me to review. So I'm going to be reviewing all the movies and ranking.
Oh, nice.
Is what I'm working on right now. One of the things I'm working on.
Anyways, I might
Anyways,
stay with you. I might watch them again at some point and maybe rank them all with you in the comments of that video.
Yeah, because I have all 8 movies on Blu-ray. Have those series on Blu-ray, and I have all the books. I've read through them. Actually, I'm reading the 5th book right now. Order of the Phoenix is the current book I'm actually reading. But
what's your favorite of the films?
Well, Deathly Hallows Part 2 is 5 out of 5 movie. It's one of my favorite of all time.
It's an awesome movie.
It's such a great ending to the stories. There's so many things to talk about, but the arc of the Snape character is one of the greatest arcs in book history, movie history that I've ever experienced. Where you're like really like in the first movie and book, you're like, I'm not sure about this guy. He might be a villain, and seems like a villain type character. And then he's like, okay, but Dumbledore trusts him. I don't know. And it's like throughout the whole series, you're just questioning Snape. Is Snape a good guy or a bad guy? And all this, and Alan Rickman, such a great performance. I think he should have won an Oscar for supporting actor. I thought he gave a really good performance in that last movie, and throughout the whole series, he just a great performance. And then when you get to that last part, 7th movie or 8th movie, 7th book, that scene where we see Snape's backstory is one of the greatest scenes of all time, in my opinion. When I watch that scene, I usually rewind it and watch it again. Like every time I watch the movie, I have to rewind and watch that scene at least twice, maybe 3 times, because it gets me so emotional seeing that scene. And I'm guessing you guys know what I'm talking about, but that scene is so incredible and emotional and just mind, just a great twist in that story where you're like, oh, I had no idea. And I remember reading the book first. I read the book first, of course, before I saw the movie. And I remember reading that part in the book and just like, I had to put the book down and be like, what just happened? Like, you had to think about it. Like, it's one of the few times where I had to put a book down and just think about it, what I just read, and, contemplate it and, really just think that, did that just happen? That was an incredible scene. Anyways, say that. That character arc is so great. But overall, like I said, like Rashad, it just kills me when I see his reviews because
Yeah, I know.
like,
It's terrible.
Our
Can't
reviews
believe
are
it.
complete opposite to his
oh,
on Harry Potter. Yeah,
he doesn't get it, and that's what I guess frustrates me about his reviews. Like I think you don't get it. Like, and if anybody says they don't like it, I'm like, I don't think I try to explain. Like, this is what the series is about to me. It is about racism and prejudice. Voldemort is racist towards non-magic people and towards magic people who have, uh, one parent that's not magic, the mudblood,
Mhm.
he calls them. He only likes pure blood wizards. Those are the only true wizards to him, and he wants to oppress everybody else. So to me, Voldemort's he's one of the greatest villains, and like you said, Ray Fiennes, amazing performance.
Yeah.
He's one of the greatest villains of all time, in my opinion, and it's because he's so evil. I mean, he wants to oppress people because they were born different, and I think we can all relate to that. That's something we've seen in our lives or whatever, and throughout history. Like I said, it's Hitler. I mean, it's Hitler. He wants to oppress people because of the way they were born, and he wants to, inferior races and superior races, anyways. And I just love that storyline. I lost Adam.
Yeah, we did.
But I just love that idea of like just how evil he is and how good Harry Potter is as a character because he accepts everybody. It doesn't matter who they are, who their backstory is, um, who their family is. It's not important, and I just love that about that character. And I think it's just a great story because of that. And Hermione's their best friend, and she gets made fun of. She gets, bullied because her parents aren't magical,
Yeah,
And
Malfoy, he gets on there.
so, yeah, Malfoy is, terrible the way he treats her. And so I feel for that character, and I love that they accept her, uh, even for that instance. Also, Ron Weasley's family gets made fun of because they're poor.
Yeah.
Every one of them, they're this poor family, but Ron is always loyal to Ron, or Harry's always loyal to Ron. He's his best friend because they're always have each other's back and they're always loyal to each other and they're good people. And I guess to me, what's most important in life is being good to people and accepting other people. And that's the way Ron or Harry, because at one point Malfoy tells Harry, hey, I can tell you the right people to hang out with, and in the first book and movie, and Harry says, I think I can figure that out for myself, basically
Yeah.
saying, like, Malfoy's going to tell him, don't hang out with these people.
Yeah.
They're inferior, and Harry's like, no, like the inferior people are the mean people, the bullies are the terrible people. And so I love that it's kind of this anti-bully movie franchise to me anyways. That's what I get the most out of it. And yeah, you have to stop those kind of people. Those people are terrible. And I love that the good triumphs over the evil at the end,
Yep.
I guess, and that's why I say to Rashad, like, that's why it's good.
Yeah.
It's about being good. It's a movie about being good and non-bullying people and accepting people no matter where they come from. I guess that's my rant on that.
Yeah, and I think also too, just with the movies in general, whether you're reading the book or you're watching the movie, you're just immersed in the world.
Yes,
And
good world.
it's just amazing how not only can she describe it in a book, because a lot of times like you read a book and maybe you can't picture yourself in the world or that time, but like with her books, like the way that she just describes the world and like, what's going on, it makes you really like, it makes like you really are there or you
Yeah,
want to be there. And I think that's like what's so great about it. And with like, and that's kind of like the fantasy genre too, because, you know, we all would love to be immersed in a world like that for real.
yeah,
And that's like our closest point to getting to that. And I just think like, I can't remember where they filmed it, but they filmed inside like, like a real castle and everything, and like turned it into this world, from the costuming to
yeah.
the cast. I just feel like everything is brought to life, and they do it in a way where they don't have to make a 4-hour movie. You know what I mean? Like, some of these movies, they're turning into be like 3.5 hour movies,
Yeah, yeah.
and they don't do it with these movies. And I think they hit all the bullet points they need to hit. I mean, yeah, they probably leave out certain things. But I mean, when you're reading a 500-page book or whatever, how many pages it is, it's really tough to do and translate it onto the screen. And I think that every movie translates the book to the screen very well. So
very good
I
at
just
that.
think there's not, like, even with the third movie being my least favorite, it's still not a bad movie. Like, it's not a movie where I'm like, I'm just going to skip the third one. Let's go to the fourth one.
Yeah.
You know? So, yeah, I don't feel like any of the movies are bad, like, at all. And I think every movie is building to the next big thing. So that's what I appreciate about them as well. You know, beyond your thoughts as well. And, yeah, I mean, it's just overall, it's a really good franchise. So I'm agreeing with that. I don't know where Adam went.
It's a good story, and the movie wise, they did just a great job adapting the
There he
books.
goes. He's coming back. Got him back.
Oh,
Oh,
Uh,
gone again.
uh,
Get him back.
I say it's like
no,
it's
there
like
we go.
just, oh, there you are.
The internet went down on my laptop.
Oh, okay.
I don't know why it went off. That's why it was frozen for a few seconds.
I
It
know.
disappeared.
We were just chatting.
with
about
Chatting
Harry
away about Harry Potter.
Harry Potter disappeared me. I don't know why.
the visibility cloak, yeah.
Yeah.
But it's the greatest British actors like probably put together in that movie.
Yeah.
With Maggie Smith and Richard Harris in the first two, of course. Robbie Coltrane, so great as Hagrid. Alan Rickman, like I said, magnificent.
Yeah, one thing that I was saying to my wife is you really get a feeling as like each person has been passing away in life, like how old you're really getting.
Yeah.
I feel like I definitely feel that, like, because I mean a lot of them passed away, like Alan Rickman and
Robbie Coltrane, yeah.
Robbie Coltrane, and you know, it's, you know, obviously the first Voldemort, not first Voldemort,
Yeah,
first Dumbledore passed away.
Yeah.
I think some of the goblins passed as well.
Really?
Yeah, so it definitely puts you in perspective. Like it's crazy, but
oh yeah, it's been what 20 plus years since I started.
And it doesn't feel that way though. Like it feels like you just watched it, like, you know, 5-10 years ago.
Yeah.
I think that's the craziest thing about movies is you can watch a movie and then you go back and watch it, and then you're like, oh man, that movie came out in 2010. It felt like I just watched that. It's crazy. So
yeah.
I wouldn't say with the rebooting that they're doing or whatever the series or whatever. I wouldn't say I'm very excited about it, to be honest with you.
Well, that's what I'm afraid of course, with any time they do this. Like Harry Potter, I thought they did such a good job of just, you know, source material. But sometimes when they do stuff, they're like, hey, let's change this character to a girl. Let's change the race of this character, and it's like, why do that? Like, just adapt the book. That's my opinion. But
yeah, I agree.
Well, I'll get to my number one now.
Right, number one.
Sorry about the technical difficulties, but
no worries, man.
Hope you enjoy your Harry Potter talk.
Oh, we did. It sounds like we could talk a little while for that.
Yeah.
Well, my number one is Star Wars,
Star
but
Wars.
more specifically, the original Star Wars trilogy.
Yeah.
Episode 4, 5, and 6. Near perfect movie trilogy. Episode 5 and 6, perfect films. Episode 5 is my favorite film of all time. Episode 4, I think, is near perfect. I do think it could have been shortened a little bit. It's mainly when C-3PO and R2-D2 go to Tatooine. It's that part of the movie that I think the film slows down a bit. But it's an excellent movie trilogy. It's definitely my favorite film franchise of all time, and I grew up watching those films loads. I watched them all the time when I was younger, and it was the first sort of thing that I really got into. I was pretty obsessed with the Star Wars original trilogy.
Yeah.
Bought loads of toys and making my own games with them. Yeah. It's my number one.
So for me,
so you've watched them, Ryan?
I've only seen the first two.
Oh, no. That's something else you gotta watch.
You've
Me
seen
and Mike,
episode 1 and episode 2, right?
yeah, me and Mike and
Yeah.
Anthony, we were all supposed to
Yeah.
do them each
Yeah.
month, and that hasn't worked out.
What-
I don't know. I haven't like. I guess they've all been busy or something. But I mean, I know Mike. He's always got so many videos he's coming up with. But I did watch the second one, Attack of the Clones, and that's how far I've gotten. So
Yeah, you even got
eventually
to
I'll
the
get to them all. They have so many shows too. I mean, I hear about all these shows, and I'm like, I don't know what they tie to.
I've still not watched Ahsoka yet.
You haven't seen it yet?
So
No.
what does that tie into? Like, is there a certain movie it ties into, or is it just his own thing?
Is it
Not
to do
the-
with Clone Wars or Rebels?
Yeah.
Rebel.
Yeah, Ahsoka was. They did an animated movie called, I think, Clone Wars or something like that.
Okay,
Yeah.
I've heard that.
That came out in the theater, and I saw it in the theater. And they introduced the Ahsoka character, but really the movie was a pilot to the Clone Wars TV series that they were starting. And so they brought in a new character, Ahsoka, I guess, for the series, because she's never mentioned, of course, in the prequels or the original series. And so they introduced her there, and then it's Clone Wars, and then Rebels, and so Ahsoka, the show seems like basically right after Rebels. It's basically really connected to Rebels, somewhat connected to the Mandalorian as well. She appears in Mandalorian.
Okay.
But it seems like almost a sequel to Rebels in a sense, I guess I would say. So the problem is there's just so many stuff to watch to catch up on Ahsoka. If you haven't caught up on it, it's going to be hard to go back and watch all the episodes. And
Well, do you guys have any honorable mentions for your favorite franchises?
Mhm.
I've got a few. I've got John Wick, Toy Story, but I already counted that one.
Okay.
Mission Impossible and
Okay.
the Rocky films. I've recently been watching all of them for the first time.
I'll just say, like, I didn't put Star Wars into my franchise. When you did I remember you did the trilogies with somebody.
Yeah, that was with Mike and Elliot.
Was that okay? Yeah, you did the trilogies, and I was in the comment section, and I put Star Wars as my favorite trilogy of all time, that original 3 through 6. So that's where I put my Star Wars. And Lord of the Rings, I put that in my trilogy list. I didn't put it in my franchise list, but even though you could count it as obviously they're franchises as well. Star Wars, the prequels and the sequels ruined this franchise, so I didn't put it in my list.
I'm not too crazy on the prequels.
Yeah.
I don't mind the sequels that much.
Oh, really? Okay. I wasn't crazy about them, so that kind of ruined. That's why I didn't put Star Wars in my franchise, even though it's the trilogy is it's so great. I mean, and then Lord of the Rings I didn't put into my franchise, though I can see that because I would count the Hobbit movies as part of the franchise. I guess those 6. The Hobbit movies are definitely weaker than the Lord of the Rings trilogy, but not bad. I still like the Hobbits, but it weakens the franchise a little bit, so I didn't put Lord of the Rings in there, but that's a good one. Indiana Jones, the same way. The trilogy, great trilogy. One of the greatest trilogies of all time. The 4th and 5th one ruined it as a franchise, so I didn't count it in my franchise. Rocky, that's a good one. I think the first one's it's one of the best movies of all time. The other ones are okay. They're not as strong as the first one. And then if you put Creed in there, I love Creed. So if that's part of the franchise, you definitely got some really great movies in there. There's some bad ones that kind of ruined it, I suppose.
I bought a DVD with all 3 Creed films, and I'm going to be watching that soon. I've not seen any of the Creed films.
Okay. First Creed is so good. Second, third one I thought were definitely weaker, but those are good ones. John Wick was one I thought about because the first 3 are so good. If it was a trilogy, that would be like up there as one of my favorite trilogies of all time, John Wick trilogy. But then the 4th one came out and ruined the franchise for me.
I know that's crazy on that one.
There's still 3 really good movies in the franchise, so I definitely thought about it. I went with James Bond just because my nostalgia factor over John Wick. But yeah,
I've heard there's going to be a John Wick 5 possibly happening.
It's supposed to be.
I'm not sure if they should do that though. No.
Yeah, after the 4th one, I don't know if they could somehow
not after it got the way it ended.
Yeah, after it ends. So I'm wondering if they can somehow correct the mistakes of the fourth one, then maybe it'd be good to make a fifth one. But if they don't, then I don't know.
Yeah.
It's kind of like X-Men. X-Men 1, X-Men 2 are really good movies. Like I really love the first two X-Men movies. Some of my favorite superhero movies. Then the third one was terrible. Just totally
Yeah,
ruined.
it's not a very good film at
No,
all.
like totally ruined the X-Men franchise. And then they did X-Men Days of Future Past, which I thought was a really good
It was a return to form.
and it corrected all the mistakes of the third one. So I love that they brought that one out, and they did kind of a little, hey, we're going to kind of reboot everything, correct all the mistakes. And so I watched the first X-Men, the second X-Men, and then I watched Days of Future Past, and I just skipped the third one. But that could have been a good franchise, except for the newer ones haven't been that good in the X-Men franchise. But anyways.
Yeah. Well, I really enjoyed doing this live stream with you both. It took 2 hours. I wasn't expecting.
Ryan, I want to hear your horror franchise. What do you?
So I like Evil Dead. I like Halloween franchise.
Okay.
Chucky.
What
else? I'm sure I could think of some other stuff too.
Nightmare on
but I didn't write any of them down because I wasn't planning to share those. I know you guys don't like horror, so
okay.
We'd have nothing to talk about if I put on horror. So, but I like a lot of different stuff regardless. So it's tough to put just 5 franchises that you like in general, but those are 5 of my favorites either way. So, but yeah, this was fun. I appreciate you having me on and chatting about all these.
It's been great. Fun. I appreciate you both joining this live stream, and I think us three should watch along the live stream at some point.
That'd be cool. Yeah.
Maybe watch one of the Star Wars films you've not seen, Ryan.
Exactly.
Yeah, we gotta do that. Yeah.
Exactly. Eventually.
Or maybe Back to the Future Part 3.
That'd be good one. Yeah.
Yep, I haven't seen that one yet either, so that would be good.
But quickly before we conclude this, do you guys know what you're going to be doing next on your channel?
For me, I'm hoping to record a few videos. I'm going to be doing, need to do my full review for Equalizer 3. I want to watch past lives because I keep hearing that's good. And also I have a Shutter screening. So those are my next 3.
What about you, Jason? You talk about more music?
Yeah, I have so many lists and stuff that I want to do, so I'm still not sure. I got deep dives on different artists and bands I still need to put out. And yeah, my main 2 things is I really want to try to finish the Beatles ranking and the album ranking, like, because I've been doing that for like almost 2 years now. Just those rankings have taken forever to get through for me.
There's a lot to get through there.
A lot to get through, and so I really want to get through those so I can start new projects on the channel, like the Harry Potter thing. I need to do that. Are you
going to do that as a video or live stream?
I think I'm going to do them as separate videos.
Or separate videos, yeah.
Yeah.
That'd be pretty cool to watch.
Yeah. I've been meaning to do this ranking. Because I did this contest back when we did the Oscars.
I remember that.
Where you try to guess who's going to win, and you guys, I think both of you guys might have been in it.
Yep.
Yeah. And my sister actually won the contest. She guessed
she did.
Right.
Oh, nice.
Very cool.
So her prize, as I call it, was to I had a bunch of different lists that I was working on, and so I gave her a list of projects I was working on. I said, which one do you want me to work on next? And she picked the one that I was going to rank every single Best Picture winner, because I've seen all 95 movies that have won Best Picture from 1929 to 2022. So I have the list ready. I just haven't gotten to it on my channel yet. But that's so
good luck
I got
with that one.
So I got that, and I got the Breyer one because they both won contests for me. So I want to get those at some point.
Sounds good.
Well, the next videos I've got planned on my holiday. I've got a couple of YouTube shorts planned to do with that as well. I
Sounds good.
bought something for when I went to Liverpool that I need to unbox. But I won't say what it is. I'll leave it as a surprise for that YouTube short.
Okay.
Sounds good. Yeah, your last travel video was fun that you did.
Yeah, I enjoyed doing all that stuff to Scarborough, and now I'm doing it for Blackpool and Liverpool. But
Sounds
yeah, it's
good.
been great talking movies with you guys.
Yeah,
I'll
man,
definitely
thank you.
invite you on again at some point, Ryan.
Yeah, man. Thank you for inviting me on, man.
Something else to talk about.
Oh yeah, heck yeah.
Yeah. But I appreciate everyone watching. If you watch the whole live stream all the way through, I really appreciate that as well.
Yep.
I couldn't watch a 2-hour live stream in one go. So I appreciate anyone who can do that.
Oh yeah.
But do you guys have any final words?
Nah, I got nothing else.
Just keep talking movies.
There you go.
Name your franchises in the comments, I guess.
Yeah,
Name
let us
the
know your
franchise.
favorites. Yeah. Until next time, everyone. Ciao.
Later.